Got up early today. We're well shaved. I'm wearing my favorite t-shirt on my birthday, which is basically like mesh lingerie for men, but it's so comfortable, it's unbelievable. I just finished Bloodborne this week. If you saw my Dark Souls 2 thoughts, Dark Souls 2 has a lot of things that are great about it because it's Dark Souls, but the experience of the game was quite miserable in a lot of different ways, and nothing contrasted that more than actually playing Bloodborne right afterwards. One, I'm not going to try to compare this too much because I haven't played all of the games, but in terms of like just the lore and the world, it feels very, very lived in and a lot less desolate in a lot of ways in Bloodborne than the previous Dark Souls games I've played. Compared to Dark Souls 2, the combat and movement is extraordinarily snappy and responsive. You can sidestep quickly when you're locked on as opposed to rolling. You can slightly move when you're healing. You can move and snap and roll much more quickly after attacking. I love that you don't upgrade your armor, you just upgrade your weapons so that you use different armor sets in different circumstances if you so want. And also the way that the hunter outfits look are outstanding. The game is incredible design-wise. The Gothic cathedrals, the old English style reminds me a lot of From Hell by Alan Moore. That sort of aesthetic is, to me, a total joy. The music is extraordinary, especially some of the DLC boss themes. I've seen some YouTube shorts saying what things this game does better than other parts of the series, and from my experience thus far, I agree. The fact that it has a smaller pool of weapons, but every single weapon is unique and very well designed, as opposed to being like sort of in a class, I enjoyed quite a bit. I played a skill build where I started with a threaded cane. And the threaded cane is so insanely good that I basically found myself using it for 100% basically of the main game. And then since I accidentally went into New Game Plus, not knowing that Gehrman was the final boss, and then it jumps you right into New Game Plus, I needed to play through it again because I had missed going to the DLC and missed some side quests that I wanted to do, like Eileen the Crow, because I wanted her Blades of Mercy, which ended up being huge bait. Having like a dual-wielded, the only S-scaling skill weapon in the game, I think, besides the bow blade. I just lost so many hours of boss fights trying to make the Blades of Mercy work. We basically have to stand and attack, but if you can stand and attack, it's unprecedented damage. But how many circumstances can you get to do that against bosses, particularly bosses in this game? To go into the bosses a little bit, the same way I was saying the weapons, which I've seen from some content I've watched, are some of the strongest parts of this game. I would say I agree with some other people that the boss fights are probably the weakest part of this game in many ways. I hate the beast fights, generally speaking. They're long-limbed and skinny. Their moves are hard to read. They swipe a lot. Just generally speaking, it's sort of a stick-and-move strategy without the clear moments of vulnerability of the other games in the series. I heavily did not enjoy the beast fights. There are also some of the worst boss encounters in the entire series so far. The Hemwick Witch, Mikolash, there's a couple others. Murgo's Wet Nurse I found very easy. There's a couple other fights as well that I thought were like, wow, this is shocking how bad this is, and how it's like even beyond gimmicky is just like a total letdown. I found the hunter fights and the hunter duels extremely exciting, particularly the one on the top of where the Gatling gun tower is in Old Yarnum, and a couple others as well. I thought Father Gascoigne was pretty exciting. The hunter fights are thrilling. They take advantage of all the most interesting parts of the game, namely using the gun parries, and then using your exceptional mobility to keep like a high heart-pounding pace. I think they probably took some cues from how the main game went. So the DLC fights are definitely ramped up. In most circumstances, 4 out of the 5 are quite challenging. I probably will have a video out about this by the time you see this, but without exception, if you just look at the numbers, the Ludwig fight is the most difficult boss fight I've ever had in my entire life. Like, it was probably 10 hours, all told, of getting through it. I probably could have done it in a few less hours if I hadn't been so stubborn and kept trying to use the Blades of Mercy. The threaded cane was really useful in that fight. Lawrence was quite tough. That was the first time I've had to go off stream for a fight ever. On a quick tangent that made it, I just basically I'd failed it all day. So I wanted to get some more reps in at night before bed. And it was one of those times where it becomes abundantly clear that there's a real debuff to fighting challenging fights on stream, because you basically keep talking and you're talking yourself into being more angry because you want to say something before and after an encounter. But within even 4 or 5 attempts off screen at night where you're a little quieter, it doesn't mean so much when you die, that you start to have realizations about the fight that you wouldn't have necessarily had because you're just constantly yapping when you're playing on stream. And the big thing with Lawrence, I realized, is that I got some perspective that this guy is the pound per pound highest damage boss fight in the game, easily. So to kind of play in a way where you respect that a little bit, like just never try to get tagged as you do some more damage, be aware of how much he does, but recognize that he's fairly slow. And the fundamental sort of mental shift of being like, wow, this is the highest damage guy in the entire game. So respect that and play a little more carefully. Got me over the hump more easily. So it was a big realization about playing on stream and playing where you feel the need to kind of talk constantly, and how much dumber you are in some ways, and how you almost kind of tilt yourself with your own dialogue. So that was something that was big to learn. Overall, I think it's hilarious that each ending is like 25 seconds long, maybe 60 seconds full cutscenes. I've watched a number of videos. I watched the Vati Vidya video, and then I've been reading through the Pale Hunter PDF. Very, very rich story in a lot of ways. I think I understand the reasons why they started adding the Chalice dungeons for replayability, but I do think it's a little bit of a miss in some ways. Like, yes, there are fundamental parts of the story and fundamental aspects of how the game works that are in there, but if something's as unnecessary in many ways as that is, unless you're getting to New Game 2, New Game 3, it seems like a bit of a missed opportunity. I do think it does provide a lot of extra content if you're going into New Game 2, New Game 3. I think I actually will at some point do that. After all of the pain and torment, pain and displeasure, anguish and mental torture and torment. Did I already say torment? I think I said torment already. It's all blur. That Ludwig gave me. I would like to be able to use his holy moonlight sword for one full run and enjoy finally a two-handed weapon in that game. I do think there's few things more satisfying in this series so far than getting a nice gun parry on someone. The outfits, the crow feather garb, Maria's outfit, the Ashen Hunter set. This game is one of the most sumptuous and beautiful things I've ever seen. Sometimes it's a bit weird to say something is as beautiful it is when it's so dark and so bloody and so sinister in many ways, but this is genuinely one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. It was an incredible joy. I don't think I have much more to say about it. I absolutely torture myself doing the DLC. All those bosses ruined my life for days at a time. If I'd known that Gehrman ended the game, I would have done the DLC in New Game and not done New Game Plus. I guess I would have lost out on some challenges and some opportunity for improvement, but I probably think my blood pressure levels would have been better. It is been such a joy to play in so many different ways, and I look forward to going back into it sometime in the future. Okay, on to Dark Souls 3 next. Bye.